is important to differentiate is the difference between ghettos and enclaves, the terms. Um, with ghettos, there is definitely a very negative connotation, um, and enclaves is just sort of a way of defining um, a geographical location that is heavily populated and concentrated with people of a particular um, ethnic background or race.
An area that it's in within a city, but it's separate. It's sectioned off by a group of people that might not be the same as the general public of that city, and because of that difference, they have physical borders, but also kind of a cultural border that turns them into the other.
The major difference between them is that ghetto implies rundown, um, shabby, area, and it's not just based on race. It's also based on economic status. So when you hear the word ghetto, it tends to bring up images of uh, Harlem. As an outsider, I really can only speak about the different ways that I view um, the different ghettos and ethnic enclaves of New York City. Um, and those are vast, and each one has its um, positive attributes, but some of them also um, sort of have negative attributes that, as an outsider, um, you know, we associate with that particular group, um, and um, we can't really um, we can't really substantiate those those stereotypes or those stigmas with with personal experience and firsthand knowledge, but rather it's really everything that we have read and came across through the media, etc.
But they're exposed more to in the modern media, um, images of ghettos, whether it's TV, music videos, the movies, news clips, the radio, everything, and a lot of what's perpetuated is the sensational aspects in terms of what's gonna draw a person's attention and kind of be exciting and wow them, even if it's because of a negative thing. I think the ghetto, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in that place alone. I wouldn't want to be there after dark. I might be careful about what I was wearing in terms of how I'd be perceived by the people there. Um, Usually, I think of buildings that are run down, slum type, not really taken care of. They're kind of left to decay and like not really rot, but to become like disheveled. Um, there might not be such good health care. The education level is low. The income level is low.
Everything that I know about these different communities and these different enclaves is really based on secondary sources. Um, I'm from Long Island, so I didn't even grow up in New York City. So I'm even more so an outsider because what I know of New York City is a very superficial knowledge or a very superficial um, image that I have in my head.
As an outsider and as someone who grew up in the suburbs, I never really spend so much time in enclaves. I don't really go to that many enclaves. I probably have a rudimentary idea of what would be considered an enclave and what wouldn't. But Chinatown comes to mind. I guess Little Italy, Astoria, places like that. And when I picture it, I picture a lot of hustle and bustle, a lot of different languages being spoken, specific to that area. So in Chinatown, it would be dialects of Chinese. In Little Italy, I guess Italian. Um, a lot of smells, the foreign smells, not necessarily bad, but just different sights that are different, things in different languages, specific foods that are related to that culture. Just a lot of whatever makes up the culture of a people. And I think of a unity amongst the community because they have this same culture, but I don't really I can't really think about the ins and outs of what really happens in the community. I guess I just expect that because they're so similar that everything's okay and they all get along, but I don't know if that's really true or not. Obviously, in in talking about like Chinatown and places like that, and when where places a lot of where the place is made up of a lot of immigrants, you can't help but have this idea that a lot of them are illegals, which is definitely not necessarily a given, and I think that's a bad stereotype to have. Um, but I guess that people are used to it, and that it's just what they assume.
I see New York City as this grand place that has many different cultures, many different people. Um, but, to really get at the heart of what New York City is about, you really have to experience it for yourself. And I think that's the major importance in what we're trying to do here, um, by really getting inside these different enclaves and ghettos, if you will, and seeing what the people themselves think about their own neighborhoods, and how do they think that people from on the outside view them, and if that upsets them, and if they wish that they could change that, or if they don't take pride in their neighborhood.
I don't really have a story or specific experience in any of these places because I haven't spent so much time in them. But I feel like even if I did, it would it would almost be not a bad thing, but it would be interesting for my perception and impression about these areas because that would be my closest personal experience, and it would probably be human nature of me to extend whatever I saw or whatever I experienced to be the overarching like thing for the whole community and kind of sum it up through my little experience, which I think is a bad thing.
Think that's really part of what we're trying to accomplish, is to try and I guess break those boundaries, and um, you know go where none of us may have ever gone before, and really you know see for ourselves what life is really like, as opposed to the things that we may come across in the media, which really only portray one side of the story for the most part.
So that's my perception about ghettos and enclaves as an outsider.
So that's my outsider perspective on ghettos and enclaves.